This is not surrender. Across the coldest reaches of Alaska, a body held still on the snow is not a body giving up. It is a body doing arithmetic. Here, warmth is never free. Every animal pays for its own heat in a currency of energy, and the cold never stops charging. In parts of the interior and the Arctic, winter air falls toward -50 degrees Celsius. Wind lifts spindrift off bare rock. A single small shape crosses an empty white valley and vanishes into scale. The question that governs everything that follows is plain. Can a warm body here earn back more than the cold steals? And what must each animal sell to stay solvent? The wind has an answer. It begins on bare rock. Wind comes first. Before any animal, before any movement, there is only the sound of it dragging across bare rock, lifting loose snow off the stone in long white threads. Nothing about this place invites a living body to stay. The slope is scoured, grey, and exposed to every gust the mountain can throw at it. This is the Brooks Range, the Arctic alpine spine that runs across northern Alaska. Here the wind is not weather, it is a tax. Every warm body on this ridge pays it, breath by breath, heat leaving skin faster than the animal can make more. Most creatures answer by leaving. They drop into the valleys or burrow under the snow, out of the open air. But one animal does the opposite. It walks onto the most exposed ground on the mountain and refuses to step off it. A Dall sheep stands braced on the crag's windward edge, white against grey stone, legs set against the push of the air. It lives near the northern limit of the species range, in one of the last mountain ranges wild sheep reach before the land flattens toward the Arctic coast. And it has chosen, deliberately, the coldest square of ground in view. The question writes itself. Why would any animal pay the highest tax on the mountain when shelter sits a few hundred meters below? The answer is under its feet. The same wind that strips heat from the sheep also strips snow from the slope. Where the gusts hit hardest, the stone is blown nearly bare, and bare stone means reachable forage. Dall sheep live year-round on these wind-exposed alpine slopes for exactly this reason. In deep winter, shelter is a trap. A sheltered slope holds its snow, and snow buries the low, dry plants a sheep needs to survive. The exposed ridge stays open. The wind that charges them for standing here is also the only thing keeping their pantry unlocked. So the band feeds where it hurts. A dozen animals work the scoured slope, cropping what the wind has uncovered, heads down against the cold. They are not enduring the exposure by accident. They are buying access to food with their own body heat, and on a good ridge, the trade pays. The calories waiting on the bare stone outrun the calories the wind steals. The character of the place makes the cost visible. Light comes low and thin across an empty white valley that runs to the horizon without a single tree. Frost sets on the guard hairs of every animal. Through the long night, the band holds the high ground, backs to the wind, a scatter of pale shapes on a black ridge, spending heat by the hour to keep the account open until morning. But the ridge is not free of danger, and the wind that feeds the band can also turn against it. When a hard gust rises, the exposure that uncovered the forage becomes a threat of its own. A lamb, lighter and lower on reserves than the adults, can be driven to the ragged edge of the group, drifting toward ground where the wind has nothing left to give. Out here, being alone and being cold are the same problem. The heat a small body loses on an open edge is heat it may not earn back before dawn. Not every animal answers the wind by standing in it. Lower on the same alpine ground, an Arctic fox does the opposite arithmetic. It curls into a tight ball, tail wrapped across its face, tucking every exposed surface out of the air. Arctic foxes fold themselves this way to shrink the skin the cold can reach, cutting their losses instead of paying to feed in the open. The sheep spends heat to keep eating. The fox does the reverse, spending as little as it can and waiting. Two animals in one wind, keeping entirely different ledgers, and the fox's answer is the one the rest of this cold will keep returning to. By dawn, the sheep close their account the only way the ridge allows. As the light returns, the band gathers off the windward face and into a leeward pocket, a fold of rock where the gusts break and the cost of standing drops. The ridge was survivable through the night, not because any single animal could outlast the wind, but because the band could move, feeding on the exposed stone while the wind stayed bearable and sheltering in the lee when it spiked. Solvency here is not toughness. It is knowing when to pay full price and when to step out of the weather entirely. That is the base cost of living in this country. Heat lost to wind is the price of admission, and the Dall sheep pays it standing up, in the open, on purpose. But a heavy winter coat and a body built to feed in a gale is a rare form of wealth. Most animals here cannot afford to sit in the open at all. For them, survival is not about standing in the wind. It is about never being found in it. The mountain falls away to the south, down off the bare crag and into the dark spruce of the interior, toward an animal that has staked everything on not being seen. Down off the crag, the mountain gives way to forest. The land flattens into a stand of black spruce, close-grown and shadowed, where the snow lies deeper and the wind cannot follow. This is colder ground than the ridge. The still air of the interior sinks into these hollows and settles, and without a breath of wind to carry it off, the cold simply pools and waits. Somewhere inside the tangle of dark branches and buried deadfall, an animal is doing nothing at all, and its stillness is the most deliberate thing in the forest. A snowshoe hare crouches in the snow, white fur against white ground, ears folded flat to its back. The frame moves closer and the animal holds. No bolt, no flinch, not so much as a turned head. It is a living body behaving, for all the world, like a dead one. This posture is not fear, and it is not surrender. It is a way of not being seen, run and rerun through the coldest months of the year, a coat that erases the animal against the snow so long as it refuses to move. The question is, what makes stillness the winning bet? The answer is the same arithmetic that rules every warm body in this country. On the ridge above, the sheep paid its debt by spending heat to reach its food. The hare has built its entire winter on the opposite principle. Spend as little as possible, and spend it as close to cover as the body can manage. Its food is already here. Within a single hop of the thicket, there is bark to gnaw and frozen twigs to crop, willow and spruce within reach of a body that barely has to move to eat. It feeds in short, economical bursts and returns to stillness, taking its calories from whatever the snow has not yet buried and asking almost nothing of its own reserves to get them. There is no long walk to a feeding ground, no exposed crossing, no heat thrown away on travel. The pantry is the thicket, and the thicket is the hiding place, and the two are the same square of forest. That is the hidden account. A hare holding motionless is not idling. It is conserving, throttling its own expenditure toward the floor. In cold this deep, a body burns fuel simply to hold its own temperature, and every startled dash, every wasted minute in the open, adds to a bill the animal can barely meet. So it banks its warmth by refusing to burn it, staying folded and quiet and low, while the cold does its accounting all around it. Stillness here is the strategy itself, the cheapest way a small body has found to stay solvent until spring. But an economy this quiet does not go unnoticed. The thicket that hides the hare hides other things too. A Canada lynx moves through the spruce, silent on wide snowshoed feet, its grey coat dissolving into the shadow between the trunks. The hare has staked everything on spending nothing. The lynx has no such option. It is a predator, and a predator must spend big to eat at all. Energy pours out in the long stalk and in the rush that either lands or does not. And this cat spends it almost entirely on one animal. The lynx is a specialist, so bound to the snowshoe hare that its own fortunes rise and fall with its prey. Across the boreal interior, lynx and hare climb and crash together on a cycle roughly 10 years long. When the hares are many, the cats grow fat and numerous. When the hares thin out, the lynx follow them down. One predator's whole account is written in the numbers of a single type of prey, so the two ledgers close on each other in the dark. The lynx lowers itself, gathers, and reads the thicket where the hare sits frozen. Everything now turns on a margin measured in inches and heartbeats. And on many nights, the still animal wins. The lynx commits to a costly, all-in rush across the snow. The hare, which has spent the whole winter learning exactly when to break its stillness, explodes from cover a fraction of a second before the cat arrives, jinking through the trees on feet built for this same deep snow. The rush comes up empty. To a watching eye, it looks like an ordinary failure. It is not. For an animal this narrowly specialized, an empty rush is a debit against an account with almost no other income. The hare that got away spent almost nothing to survive. The lynx that missed spent nearly everything to fail. A specialist this fine cannot afford many empty nights in a row. The razor the whole forest balances on is that margin. The difference between the animal that hoards its heat and the animal that must gamble its heat to eat. Yet stillness is only as good as what came before it. A hare can throttle its spending to almost nothing and still starve if it walked into winter with an empty account. If the autumn fat was never banked, no amount of holding still will conjure it back. Conservation buys time, it does not create reserves. And there is an animal in this country that has refused the whole logic of hoarding, that has looked at the cost of sitting still and chosen to do the exact opposite. Out of the sheltered thicket, onto the open snow where nothing waits within reach and nothing can be saved by holding still. The river valley gives way to open taiga, a rolling white plain stitched with black spruce, and across it a single animal is already moving. It travels alone, low to the snow, a dark shape against a landscape that offers nothing in reach. No shelter, no kill in sight, no reason the emptiness can explain. The sheep endured the wind and the hare went still, but this animal has made the opposite wager. It refuses to stop. The wolverine is built for the bet it has placed. Short-legged, heavy through the shoulders, wrapped in a coat that sheds frost instead of trapping it, it crosses ground most predators will not attempt in this cold, climbing ridges and dropping into drainages through the longest nights of the year without pause. Stillness is not in its account. The hare pays its debt down by spending almost nothing. The wolverine pays its own down by spending everything, gambling that constant motion will turn up more food than the cold can claw back. It is a punishing way to stay solvent. It works only if the animal can hold what it finds, and holding is the entire trick. Somewhere out on the plain, the wolverine stops, noses the surface, and begins to dig, driving down through packed snow towards something buried far below the frozen crust. What it hauls free is meat, frozen hard. A carcass it fed on earlier and left behind, pressed into the snow to be found again. This is a bank deposit. A wolverine scatters caches of frozen meat across a winter range that can run to hundreds of square kilometers, and the same deep cold that threatens every warm body on the taiga is exactly what keeps those deposits from spoiling. The cold that charges the account also guards the savings. A body that can range far enough to bury many caches turns winter's hardest threat into its own cold storage. But the deposits only matter because the open market cannot be trusted. Fresh food out here is contested. A wolverine will scavenge a new carcass wherever it finds one, yet it is not the largest animal on the snow, and a fresh kill draws heavier competitors. When a bigger scavenger reaches the meat first, the wolverine is shut out, pushed off ground it cannot hold against a stronger body, and forced to abandon the easy calories. On the nights the open market is closed to it, the hustle looks like failure. All that distance, all that spent heat, and no meal at the end of the dark. That is the moment the caches earn their keep. The wolverine does not depend on the fresh kill it just lost, because it has already paid, in miles and effort and earlier work now frozen in the snow behind it. On a night when live hunting comes up empty and a larger animal takes the new carcass, the wolverine turns to a deposit it made days before and eats regardless. The investment of distance covers the night the market shuts. This is the payoff no motionless animal can claim. The hare that spends nothing has nothing set aside to fall back on. The wolverine's relentless traveling is precisely what leaves food waiting when a single meal is stolen. For this animal, motion itself is a form of insurance. The cost of that insurance is enormous. Every mile burns heat the wolverine must earn back, and a body running this hard cannot afford many empty weeks in a row. The strategy does not remove the debt. It only outpaces it, so long as the legs hold and the caches stay buried where the cold can keep them. There is no rest built into this account, and no season when the traveling can safely stop. Solvency for the hustler is measured one long night at a time. Across the taiga, the wolverine moves off again, already reading the next stretch of snow, already banking against the next failure of the open market. It is a whole survival economy carried on a single set of shoulders. And that is the flaw the winter eventually finds. One animal, however far it ranges, is still running its account alone. Every mile is its own, every cache its own, every empty night paid out of one body's reserves. The largest meal in this country cannot be met that way. Down off the snowfields, where the spruce thickens and a frozen river cuts the valley floor, live animals that answer the cold with a different arithmetic entirely. Not one body outrunning the debt, but many bodies sharing a single, dangerous bill. The snowfields drain into a valley, and a frozen river runs its floor beneath a fringe of willow and stunted spruce. This is deep into the interior winter now, the cold near its hardest before the season turns. And moving along the buried river, in single file through snow that swallows their legs to the chest, comes a company of animals that has answered the cold together. A pack of grey wolves travels the valley in a line, each animal stepping into the trail the leader breaks, letting the ones behind spend less to cover the same ground. Their flanks are lean. The winter has been long, and it has been many days since the last full meal. The reserves that carry a wolf between kills are running thin, and the pack can read the arithmetic in its own bodies. A wolf alone in this country, at this point in the season, is a wolf running out of time. But these animals are not alone, and that is the whole of their strategy. The wolverine banked its solvency in frozen caches. The hare banked hers in stillness. The pack banks nothing. Its account is the group itself. The wolves survive by pooling their risk, agreeing in effect to share a single enormous cost across many bodies, so that no one animal has to pay the full price of the meal they all need. And the meal they need is the largest and most dangerous animal in the valley. A moose stands in the willow bottom, the largest deer on earth, stripping bark and twig from the bare stems, black against the snow, and taller at the shoulder than any wolf that hunts it. This is not thinned, easy prey. A full-grown moose carries more meat than the whole pack could work through in days, and it carries the means to make any wolf pay dearly for trying to take it. Long legs end in hooves that can shatter bone. A hoof that lands square can break a wolf's jaw or crack its ribs, and an injured hunter in deep winter is often a hunter that will not eat again. A moose that stands its ground and fights is a wall the pack cannot simply run through. So the hunt does not begin with a charge. It begins with a question. That question runs through the pack as it works. The wolves press close and read the animal, how it holds itself, whether it turns to face them or turns to run, whether age or hunger or injury has opened a crack in its defense. Some press from the front, while others drift to the flanks, pushing the moose to divide its attention, watching for the flinch that would give a weakness away. Every predator here runs the same calculation the whole country runs. Does the calorie waiting inside that body outweigh the cost and the risk of going in after it? What the wolves are hunting for is not a fight, but an opening. And against a moose that stands its ground and shows none, there is usually nothing worth the price of forcing. So a moose that plants its feet and gives no ground is, on most nights, a moose the wolves leave standing. This is the discipline the strategy is built on. A pack that threw itself at every moose it found would cripple its own members and starve inside a month. Pooled risk does not mean winning every attempt. It means being able to walk away from the wrong meal because there are other bodies to hunt with tomorrow, and choosing, coldly, which bill is worth paying. When they break off, they move on down the valley, and somewhere ahead they find what the winter has already half taken. An animal older or weaker, further into its own energy debt, one that cannot hold the line the standing moose held. That is the one the pack can afford. The cost of the hunt, divided across the group, comes back as meat divided across the same group. The risk that would break a single hunter is survivable when it is split many ways. No wolf pays the full price alone. Every wolf eats. This is the fourth answer the country offers to the same creditor. The sheep endured the wind, the hare went still, the wolverine outran the debt alone, and the wolves, unable to meet the biggest cost singly, simply divided it until it could be carried. Four strategies, one winter. and every one of them only a way of surviving until the single thing none of them controls finally turns. Because for all their arithmetic, none of these animals can pay its way out of the cold forever. The caches run down, the fat runs low, the pack thins. The whole ledger, in every currency, has been waiting on one event it cannot hunt, cannot hoard, and cannot outrun. Down the valley, where the interior falls toward its lowest ground, that event is finally beginning. The light is coming back. The cold breaks slowly, and then all at once. For months, the interior held a silence so complete that the loudest sound in the country was a body's own breath. Now water moves. A drip becomes a trickle. The trickle finds a channel, and across the lowlands, the first open water in half a year begins to run. Then, thin and startling against the long quiet, the first birdsong returns. This is the Tanana Valley, the low interior basin where the meltwater gathers, the lowest and southernmost end of the long descent out of the cold. Here, the creditor that ran every account all winter finally eases its charge. Snow pulls back off the south-facing ground. Bare earth appears, dark and wet, and where the sun has worked longest, a first thin green comes up through it. The debt does not vanish. It simply stops growing for a season. And the survivors surface into it. Everything still alive in this valley lived through the winter by paying a different bill, each in a different currency. Now the ones still solvent step out into the thaw, and one of them is already turning the new ground to use. On a patch of newly bare earth, a red fox has opened a den. At its mouth, on ground that carried a meter of snow only weeks before, a litter of kits tumbles in the open light. They spend heat freely now, on nothing but play, chasing, wrestling, spilling energy the way no animal here could afford in January. That extravagance is the clearest measure of the season's turn. For the first time in months, movement in the open costs almost nothing, and a body can burn warmth simply because it has warmth to burn. But the ledger has not been forgiven. It has only been reset. The spring does not carry back every animal that walked into the winter, and the valley greening now is quieter than the one that entered the dark. A den full of kits on bare ground is not a gift of the season. It is a receipt, proof of an account kept solvent through the coldest months this land can produce. The fox raising a litter here is one that earned back, across a whole winter, more energy than the cold could steal from it. And it did not do so by being right, because there was never a single right answer. The same thaw reaches an animal on a wind-scoured slope of snowless rock, and another trotting across greening tundra with a whole pack behind it. Solvent survivors of opposite strategies, arriving into one spring by 4 different routes. That is the settlement the winter was always driving toward. Endurance, stillness, distance, shared risk. 4 currencies, 4 bills paid against the same creditor, and no one of them the true coin of survival. The cold did not reward the toughest animal, or the stillest, or the fastest. It simply charged each body in the currency that body had to sell and let the ones who could still cover the cost walk into the light. That is the answer the whole country has been holding. A warm body in Alaska can earn back more than the cold takes, but only for a season, never for free, and never by the same means twice. The account never closes. It only waits, through the short green months, for the charge to begin again. For now, the charge has stopped. Meltwater runs past the den in the low sun, and at its mouth the kits sprawl on bare, warming ground, spending the one currency the winter never let them keep: heat, given away on nothing but the fact of being alive. The charge will begin again. In a handful of months, the light will shorten. The first hard frost will settle back over the interior, and the account every animal here keeps will reopen at zero. None of them will be ready. None of them ever is. Yet the country fills anyway, each spring, with bodies that covered the cost one more time, each in the only currency it had to spend. For now, the meltwater runs. Loud in the sudden quiet, and a single line of small paw prints crosses the bare, dark ground toward open water.